Hey everyone, it's Julie Harrison. I work at MindManager and we're all in a whole new world here. I'm coming to you from my home office in Ottawa, Canada, which is Corel's head office location. And with me here, I have a very esteemed colleague and a longtime colleague of MindManager. Nick Duffill has been a value-added partner with MindManager for, I think, over 20 years now, eh, Nick?
Yeah, that's right. It's a long time. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Nick's done a lot of work with MindManager. He knows the product better than anybody practically, and he's even developed 50 dedicated MindManager integrations over this time. So we thought, hey, why don't we jump on, see if we can offer our MindManager community some real ways to make this work from home a little more systematic, a little more organized, because we're all dealing with quite a bit of disruption and noise in our environment. So that's what we're doing here today. And Nick, you've worked from a home office for a long time, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I mean, it's about 25 years now, and I've worked with people I've never met, which is it's not that easy to do, but being organised is a big part of that. But there'll be a lot of people facing the same kind of issue right now.
Yeah, definitely. So where are you located?
On the Isle of Skye, off the west coast of Scotland, and we went into lockdown 2 days ago, so we're all locked in our houses now.
Mm, okay, yeah. So we're all in this global boat right now. So we touched a little bit on it already, but what are some of the challenges, Nick, that you wanted to help us walk through today?
Well, in particular, should we look at the map? Are you seeing
Yeah,
the map
let's
on
do
the
that.
screen?
Let's jump
Okay,
in.
let's take a look at that. Because what we wanted to do was um, talk to people who are in teams, who are now working remotely, who maybe haven't been working remotely before, and people who are managing those teams, who maybe haven't managed people working remotely very much before. And those are two sets of issues. In particular, for people who are working remotely, if they're new to that, it's quite a step, because you can't do exactly the same job from home that you've done in the office. I think things have to change. They have to run differently. You can work from home for a day or two and then go back to the office, but most remote working is based on meeting up frequently, being able to meet up again. But working from home for, say, 6 weeks or whatever it might be is going to be quite different.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're working from home, you have lots of distractions, and for most people, home is not where you do work. Home is where you're away from work.
Well, yeah,
And
I mean, I actually work from a home office quite a bit, but now that I
yeah,
have like the husband and the kids and everybody here, it's a whole other world.
yes, yes, and having a productive workspace is a challenge as well. So people are working on their kitchen tables, they're working in the lounge, they're trying to hide from the kids and hide from the dog and all kinds of stuff. So lots of things going on there. And of course, some people will miss the office community. You learn a lot of things just by talking to people about things that you hadn't planned to talk to them about, but you can stay in touch with what's going on. And some people will feel that quite keenly. And
Hmm.
I think one thing that can help with that is routine, is being organised, having a routine on both sides so everybody knows what the deal is. And of course, on top of everything else, some people will have quite a lot of stress. Now, we're not saying MindManager can help with that, but certainly having your work life under control is one less distraction, one less thing to worry about. If you can get on top of that, keep it running smoothly and be productive and effective, that's going to be an important help as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for the
Definitely.
team managers, there'll be some managers who are new to managing remote teams, and this is going to be about communication and about being really clear with what it is that you need people to do and how you're working together with them. So they won't have the opportunity to just happen to walk past someone's desk and say, "I thought you're doing this," or "No, this is more important right now." But those connections have gone, so we're going to have to be much clearer about communicating. And unfortunately, communication is one thing that MindManager is really good at, and we'll be looking at how you can use it to help with that kind of situation. The rest of the webinar. So if we look at the kinds of things that MindManager can help with, we mentioned 3 areas: getting organised, communicating, and being productive. And we'll look at getting organised first, and knowing where everything is and what's important. The 2 big things. People can point out things for you in the office. They can redirect you all the time. But when you're away from that, you've got to have a pretty clear idea of where your stuff is and what's important for you to do. And the big word here, of course, is dashboards. So dashboard maps, which we'll look at quite a bit, are a key to using MindManager for this. And dashboard maps, because they're quick to create and they can contain everything, can become a kind of a hub for organising your work from both your point of view and from the company's point of view. And before I go much further with that, I wanted to go across the other side of this map, and we'll look at this picture here just so people get an idea of the kinds of things that MindManager can do for them. Working from home pretty much now means you're working in the cloud. So you're at home, you've got a connection, you're able to access lots of stuff that you could access from work. And what we're saying here is that MindManager can help with that level of communication. It can help you to put stuff where you need it, to find stuff where you need it as well. So what we're proposing is a number of maps that have a particular purpose that help with remote working. For a team manager, they might want to have a daily dashboard so they can keep track of all the stuff that they need to do. They've only got one place to go. They've got a map that stays up to date with who's doing what, where, links to important stuff. So a dashboard for the manager will be helpful. What will also be helpful for the team is a remote working toolkit. So what you can do with MindManager very quickly, with MindManager 2020 and 19 as well, is publish a map to a publishing server. So you can create a map that contains information for your team, guidance on the kind of the way that things are working now, important stuff they need to know, links to other important things, links to learning, and we'll look at that content. And you can publish that up to MindManager publishing server. So the team manager can publish a map, and you can put it up to the publishing server, and all the members of the team can read that. And you don't have to be a wizard with websites, or you don't have to involve the IT department. You don't have to create an intranet. You can publish your map to the MindManager publishing server, which is free to use, and then all your team members can read that. You can update that every day, so you can keep them. You can have one place that people can go to find out what's going on.
Yeah, I can vouch for that because I'm no IT or techie type person, and it's so easy to publish, but I like the fact that I can publish updates regularly as well, yeah. So people know that it's always updated there.
That's right. And then for the team members, again, they can use a personal daily dashboard, and we'll look at what you might want to put in that and why. And also working with project dashboards is really important. So if you're working on a project, which is kind of something that runs in the background of your routine work, or it might even be your entire work, you might be project based. You do need to be really clear, especially clear when everyone's remote, about who's doing what, when they're doing it, where you're up to, what you're stuck on, what's going to happen next, what the issues are, all that kind of stuff. And a project dashboard is a really good way to bring all that stuff together. And of course, you can access lots of other stuff too. You can link project dashboards and tasks through to SharePoint. So you can have a connection with SharePoint. You can link it. You can store these maps in shared services. So in the cloud here, we've got another blog, which is sharing services, which is either places like Google Drive or OneDrive or Box or Dropbox, where you can store your maps and everybody can access the same document or work collaboratively. And there's also the MindManager collaboration server, which allows co-editing to be done. So you have a group of people working together on the same map at the same time. So if you want to have a meeting where you're updating a map and you want people to have input, you can set up a co-editing session. If you store your maps in a shared location, and you run a co-editing session from MindManager client as well. So that just gives you a picture of where the people are, the team manager and the team member and their different views. and the kinds of stuff that people are going to need to access in the cloud. What we've done is we've put together a little kit of maps that help you get started on this. So we're suggesting some of the things that you probably want to think about putting these maps and why you'd want to use them for that.
Great, excellent.
Okay, so we mentioned a daily dashboard and a project dashboard. What I'll do is we'll just visit the rest of this this part of the map here, and everybody will get a copy of this map, won't they? You'll be making that available.
Yes, anybody who has subscribed to our newsletters and yeah, any of our subscription lists, we can email this out and make sure that you get a copy. Of course, you have to opt in, but if you've opted in, then you can receive all of our material.
Yeah, and it'll be on the publishing server, won't it? So people can explore it online and then download a copy for themselves. So all the attachments in here will be downloaded when you download a copy of the map. So the other two maps that I mentioned were a team manager's dashboard to help the team manager get himself or herself organized first, and to make sure that the team is running smoothly. And then an outline for a remote working toolkit map with lots of resources and stuff in it. But I wanted to jump ahead to this last bit, which isn't about software especially. This is about being productive. So motivation is going to be a big thing. Concentration is a big thing. And when you're in a work environment, when you're surrounded by your colleagues, then it's not going to be that hard to concentrate on the task in hand. When you've got lots of other distractions, concentration and motivation can become a big thing for some people when working remotely, especially if they're not used to working on their own. But we could say that MindManager is pretty unique as a tool that helps you to concentrate on stuff, helps you to bring your ideas together. And even if you're working alone, MindManager can be kind of a conversation partner. You can develop ideas, you can see how they look, you can rearrange them. And MindManager, I think, is a really important tool for people who need to concentrate on something by themselves or just with one or two other people. And it's a very interactive process for building stuff up. And I said I've worked for nearly 25 years from the home office now. For 20 of those, I've used MindManager, more than 20. And it makes an incredible difference when you need to get something out of the door by that night or by the end of the week. You've really got a way to focus on something and to bring everything together in one place. And it's not a feature of software, it's a feature of the type of tool that it is. So you could say the same thing about other kinds of product on the market, but obviously we're talking about MindManager here in particular.
Yeah, yes, if you don't mind me just jumping in there, Nick, what I find personally is in the kind of work that I do is that it lets me step away. Like if I get distracted on something else, which happens all the time, right? There's Slack messages and this and that. I can easily come back and I know exactly where I am. Yes, so I don't lose my spot, which I find super helpful.
That's right. You can, even if you go back to a map you haven't looked at for a while, I mean, for a few seconds, you're just scanning around trying to get organized or oriented on it, but then you kind of get back into it. It helps to remind you where you were going, what your thinking was, where you wanted to be, and how far you got, and you can pick up on that really quickly. And I'd say there's hardly any substitutes for that, unless you take really good handwritten notes or you keep a day book. But it's really good at.
I can't read my own handwriting at this point. Yeah.
yeah. But they say the best way to learn something is to explain it to somebody else. And if there's nobody else to explain something to, if you explain it to MindManager will tell you back. It'll talk back to you, and your maps will talk back and explain. They'll say, "Yep, you got this great."
I haven't heard it described that way before, Nick. That's really interesting. Yeah.
And then collaboration. We've talked a little bit about the collaboration technologies, but in general, if if people work together on maps, that brings a level of consensus. So it's really a lot better than most other things. Actually, that's pretty much true of a lot of visualization. If you draw a diagram, people engage with it much better than they do if you give them 10 pages of text to read. And that's always been true. MindManager is a really powerful form of diagramming and making stuff visual. So we've got a number of different things we can use it for. One of the things we've looked at is meetings, and set out in the toolkit map an approach to running meetings. Not just meetings in MindManager, but remote meetings in general. Having some kind of protocol. But as a tool for supporting meetings, MindManager has always been a really powerful tool for gaining consensus, keeping
I use
focus,
it for every meeting. Yes.
Capturing stuff. And if you've got free time, or if you're a bit stressed, learning new stuff is a really good thing to do. Learn a new skill. And of course, MindManager or mind mapping products are really good for that. And they're a really good platform to start learning something from a blank page, just adding to it and improving your understanding all the time. So I use it all the time if I want to learn a new topic. And this could be an opportunity for many people to start doing something, different things in a different way, learn a new skill as well.
Or just keep their kids occupied. My kids are going to need some homework and some maps to follow, I think.
Well, yeah, I think one of the gaming platforms is offering free subscription for kids or something. That's kind of I think that's sneaky. That's taking advantage of the situation.
Well,
anyway.
I don't know. The actual video games these days are pretty cool because you can talk with your friends. It's not like, when we were growing up and you're just sitting there by yourself.
Cool. Okay, let's dig into some of these dashboards now, and you can see what we're thinking about.
Some of these personal dashboards.
Okay. The first
team
one
manager.
in the
good. This is what I need
for the team managers. So the scenario is you were working pretty well with a team in the office. You've now got 8 people who are all working from home, and you need to kind of juggle that and keep that going. And there's a lot of things to think about for the team manager, but basically what the team manager should be doing is, or we suggest that they should do, is manage the new risk to the business that's arisen from the result of this new situation. It might not just be risks, there might be opportunities too, and make sure that it is working effectively. So not just set everything up and step away, but make sure everything's set up and make sure it stays effective. Keep an eye on individuals, make sure they're staying productive, they're staying engaged and motivated, because people will react differently to this new situation. So the team manager probably needs to keep a dashboard or keep some kind of running log of what they've thought about, what the risks to the operation might be. So you've got no customer meetings, you've got no interaction in the office. You might even have resources that people need to use that they can't use remotely. So there's some thinking to do there. And all we're doing with this example is giving some headings for people to think about. This isn't a guaranteed solution to anything, but if you look at this and say, none of this applies to me, but something else does, then it's done its job as a template, just as a starting point. Another big thing we think to think about will be security risks. So people they'll be working out of their home office, out of their office. They'll be at home. They'll have lots of distractions. They'll be anxious. Social engineering is going to go up a lot. So unexpected emails, funny phone calls, all kinds of stuff. Less security than you would have in the office.
By social engineering, Nick?
Things like phishing emails or calls that say your broadband is about to be disconnected. So if you're working for a presentation for a customer and you get a phone call that says your broadband connection is about to be taken away, press 1 to speak to our team, that's a scam. But some people may panic at that point. So out of the office, there's going to be, I think it's good for organizations to remind people about what to do. Take a deep breath, step back. Don't answer that call. Don't click on that link in an email, because it's a real opportunity for lots of bad actors out there. Another thing is that your business may now be depending on a domestic connectivity that you've got no control over. You don't have that contract with your staff's ISP. So you may need to think about what would happen if you lose connectivity as well. So do a little bit of risk stuff and loss of data. Would people be taking confidential information home? Is it okay if they take personal details of clients' home and stuff like that? But there's a few things to think about there. So these are just starting points for the planning of remote working from the business point of view.
Okay.
Then the third topic we've got is the kind of preparation. So making sure people have got the right IT, HR have briefed them, that you've understood what their working environments are. Customers understand that you're now working a different way. I'm getting about 5 emails a day from organisations explaining to me what their new procedures are over in the office and kinds of stuff like that.
A lot. It's a lot of information.
A lot of stuff. The staff are ready. In particular, think about if business as usual operations, any exceptional situations where you would normally get a SWAT team together pretty fast in the office and say, start a war room with a real problem with this customer or whatever it might be, or with a product, and we're going to deal with it. You may have to do that remotely. You may have to think a little bit ahead about how you're going to deal with the unexpected on top of the unexpected, and how you're going to put together a team to deal with exceptional situations. Then lastly, just agreeing basic project schedules and an outline of work with your staff, so people understand what's still going on, what's been put on pause at this time, and what they need to do. So those are some of the things that the team manager may need to think about. And then from that, branching out of that, we've also put together this thing called a remote working toolkit. And you can call that something different. You can call it, a home working intranet or whatever. But this is what we were talking about earlier, where you'd want to publish a map up to the publishing server and have all your team be able to read it. So this will be one place where you can collect together all the resources, the procedures, the stuff they're going to need to know to work effectively remotely. And we've set out some content here, some ideas. But of course, your mileage will vary. What you need to put in here will vary by the kind of team, the kind of organisation. You might have a remote working policy already. Your company, organisation may have one. And if it's important that people are aware of that and what their rights and everything else are, what their obligations are, then you might want to publish that or give people a link to that. Be really clear about how communications are going to work. So in one place you say, we're going to have management briefings once a week, we have team briefings every day or every 2 days, we have a daily stand-up every day. I want project updates on Thursdays or whatever. And from time to time, we need to know that this is still working for you. And this is how we're going to do it. So be really clear with your staff about how you're going to communicate to them, so they understand what should be happening. It may be helpful if people have changed contact details, or if they need to work different core hours, if they're juggling families or looking after other people, to have a little directory where everyone can look up where people are available, for example. So some people may be working half time or something like that. So just a little directory of contact details for the teams will be helpful.
Yeah.
And lots of resources you could put up. You could include links to all your online corporate resources, calendars, meeting tools, all that kind of stuff, or even other information that you want to publish. So think of this as an intranet in a map, but it only takes a few seconds to put a link in a map and then publish this map, and you've made an intranet then, so people can easily find the stuff that they need to find. Then a really important thing is setting out some procedures so people know what to do if they can't phone you, or they're worried about something, if something stops working. They have some idea of what to do next. So if they're stuck, what do I do? If my IT goes down, what do I do? If
that's
I'm
a
really not
great
coping
idea.
with remote working, so just think about some of these kind of FAQs for remote workers, if you like.
Yeah.
And then we've got a few more developed topics here, which are things you might want to think about. I'll zoom in a little bit. We've got some advice on staying secure online. You could, if you review this and see if it reflects what the policies and the approach of your organisation is, but these are some of the things that you might want to be thinking about, so give some advice to people. And we mentioned meetings earlier on, so a little protocol about how to run virtual meetings, dealing with technical stuff, arranging them, chairing them, making them effective. So grab a copy of this and have a look through this, and you may change some or all of this depending on how you prefer to work in your organisation. But I think it's really useful to have some kind of baseline that everybody understands what good practice is, what it should be. Otherwise, everybody's been in virtual meetings where half the meeting has disappeared due to technical issues, and people start getting frustrated and walking away again and stuff like that. And then lastly, we're going to be more reliant on email. So a little set of rules about basic stuff. This isn't new. This is 30 years old, using emails effectively, but every day you still see emails that miss the point, miss their opportunity. And
yeah, I think a reminder wouldn't go amiss at this point.
Yeah, so just some real basic stuff, because when you're not talking to someone, you can't see the expression on their face. You can't discern their intent. You can't tell whether they're joking or not. Sorry, when you're emailing, you can't do all of that stuff. So it's very easy to misinterpret. People who are a bit terse in an email, just send them one line back. You think, oh, did I upset them? They're just trying to be efficient. So just a common denominator for emails would be helpful. Then the last thing in the toolkit would be learning topics. And of course, we put one in here. You may have other topics, other subjects that you want your staff to look at. What we put in here is some stuff about MindManager. So information about using the tutorials in MindManager, links to the help. There's a whole catalogue of webinars online as well. There's a community site where you can ask other MindManager users how they've solved problems, and they can help each other. We put a set of how-to stuff in here. We're not going to go through these now, but these are how to use some of the features of MindManager that will help you in this situation. So publishing a map using content control, which is if you share a map or have a co-editing session, you can control what other people can edit. So if it's an important project map and you don't want someone to delete a really important project deliverable, you can protect that. So you can limit what it is they can update.
I better read that.
Right, before all your stuff vanishes.
Yeah.
And then sharing maps with co-workers, so using places, using online drives, co-editing them. And lastly, I added a little bit about sharing a package folder. So if you've got MindManager templates or map parts or icons or images or any of that stuff, you can set it up so everybody in your team remotely can still access all of those. You can set up a shared package folder on something like Google Drive, and people can connect to that. And so you can still have all your templates and map parts available for everybody across your team if your use of MindManager includes that kind of stuff. So that's some topics in there and details in the note and subtopics there, but those are some basic how-tos on some of the MindManager features that will be helpful in the current situation. And of course, in this toolkit map, you may want to include other stuff that your staff or your team may need to know, need to access. So that's a starting point for a remote working toolkit. So the team manager could take that, change and add and remove stuff, and then just publish that and send people the link.
That's fantastic.
They have that link.
Wow.
So it just gives someone a place to come to when they're trying to get it all in their head about what's going on. How have things changed? How am I really supposed to be working at the moment?
Yeah, I love it. I could even add like a topic in that says, this week's key priorities so that people understand the priority levels, because people can't maintain the same level of productivity at this point. So we really need to prioritize heavily.
Yeah, this isn't a substitute for talking to them, though. You've still got to have that contact. And there will be people who will hide behind written words, but this is something that they can access at 11 p.m. at night if that's when they happen to be working. So
I'm a big believer in video meetings, especially. I mean, you really need to see people's faces now more than ever.
Really, yes. So we've looked at the team manager dashboard, the remote working toolkit that the manager can publish. Let's have a look at the daily dashboard now that an individual might want to use. So it's the same kind of thing. It's where's my stuff? What do I need to do? Again, we've got a number of little procedures, things that you as an individual might want to set up. So how to set up this dashboard. So you can, if you don't already use one, then having a daily dashboard that opens every time you open MindManager is a great way to use MindManager. So you configure it, you launch MindManager, and this is the first map that comes up. Then you've got links to everything that you need to be working on, everything you need. You need to think a little bit ahead about what's going to happen if you lose your internet connection, whether you can set up a hotspot on your phone, whether might want to write down some stuff about particularly tricky VPNs or logging into servers or things like that. Anything that takes you 5 minutes to work out the first time, then write it down and it'll save you time later on. If you use authenticator apps and one-time password codes, you're required to log into something. You can get those offline as well from most providers. So you can print out a set of 10 just in case your phone gets flushed down the toilet and you can't get your one-time password to log into something. So just a little bit of planning ahead to planning ahead to make sure you can survive everyday things that aren't working. And then lastly, a little routine for backing your stuff up, making sure that if something happened to your laptop, you haven't lost all your stuff. You can recover it again, and what you need to do on a daily basis. So just a few things to plan ahead, and then a link to the remote working toolkit that we looked at, and a link to all the other stuff that you're going to need to use, and then your tasks and your projects. Now what I've done with this is this map is set up some of the markers. Not made it too complicated, but you can see in the map index, I in my own dashboard, daily dashboard, I use the priority to keep track of what's got deadlines that's coming up fast, what's got a deadline but it's not arrived yet, what's a project that I can do, fit in around other things, what things I need to work on daily, weekly or monthly. So just using that set of markers means you can go to the icon view and see all your stuff in nice columns. Now that's a different way to use your daily dashboard. You can just see in the daily column and say, yeah, I've done those things today, and it just kind of grounds you and roots you. And we mentioned right at the top people who are probably feeling more anxious about the current situation. Routine is a good way to remove some of the unknowns and the ambiguity. So have a routine, try and keep to it each day and work off that, rather than each day being a new day and you don't know what's going to happen next. So a routine is really helpful to kind of ground you with that. And then lastly, we talked about project dashboards. And again, we've got a link. You put in links from your daily dashboard to your project dashboards. And there are, of course, under File New, under Project Management, you have a ton of different dashboard types for projects that you could start on. And no two projects are the same. Definition of a project is something that's unique. You don't do the same. So what kind of dashboard you want for the project will really depend on the work itself. But the principles are the same. What you and your colleagues in the project need to know is what you're doing, who's doing it, where you're up to, Is it on course? Is it plot? What are the risks? So however your dashboard is organized, if people can see that all of this stuff is under control, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable about this. And these are the things that I use when I'm working with a client, when we use MindManager, and it may be somebody I've never met, and they can see exactly where I'm up to, what I'm doing, what we've agreed on, what's next, what the issues are. So all of these things you can put in a MindManager map. People can understand that it's all been thought about, and they can access that stuff. And of course, I've only put in a few other headings down here, but as I say, there's no one size for a project dashboard, but these are the things to try and capture and organize and communicate, and use all the standard features of MindManager, the map markers and everything else, and the link to put in as much or as little information as you need. So a project might be something that one person is working on, might be something that 10 people are working on. It's also really the same. So this is where you'd come with your manager to review where you're up to, or if you publish this map, then they could see that status as well. Or if you put it in a shared location, then you can both edit it. There's lots of options there, but having a place where everyone's on the same page, is what MindManager is really good at, and it's what people really need at this time with all the new remote working.
And I find it cuts down on emails and less like random people pinging me asking for things, because if you have this kind of dashboard, they know that they can go there at any time, no matter what time zone they're in or when they're working, and get the answer. Yes.
I've worked with another client, and they're a heavy user of Microsoft Teams, and I'm probably in, I don't know, 20 teams keep being added to stuff. And there's stuff going on all the time, and that is all chat based. It can be really hard if you're away from it for a day. It can be nearly impossible to catch up on where things are in that kind of environment. You just need one version of the truth somewhere that people can go to.
Absolutely.
So we've looked at been through some of these dashboards, and these are the areas where MindManager can help today. And they're not really advanced users of MindManager. It's basic stuff, but suddenly it's in the spotlight. These techniques and these methods are really important now. So that's the end of this map. The key things are using it to MindManager to help you communicate, using the publishing feature to communicate with your team and communicate between team members on projects, and having a daily dashboard map so that individuals stay organized. And if you wanted to share your daily dashboard map with your manager, then they could feel a lot more comfortable that they've communicated successfully what they need you to be doing and how you need to be doing it. So, I mean, you could keep it private, or you could share it with your manager, and they could agree that that's a good approach. I'm glad you've got all that stuff organized. They're going to feel a bit more comfortable about you surviving this new working at home stuff.
Yeah, holy cow! You really just created a massive treasure trove here of helpful tips and ideas and things to think about. I have a lot of things that I'm going to implement right away from this. And I know at the beginning you were saying, how are we going to make these maps available? And I was like, well, if people have subscribed, we'll make sure they get it. But I think what I'm going to do is we'll just publish it, and we'll just make it freely available to anybody and everybody who can make use out of this right now. And I think this is just fabulous. Sure. Thank you so much, Nick. Well, I really appreciate you going through this.
Great. Very good. Well, we just need to publish this presentation map, because what I've done is all the links to the sample dashboards are also embedded as attachments. And if you click on the attachment when you're viewing it in the publishing server, then it just opens that map straight away, and you can download a copy of that too. So you can either download the master, and then you get all the attachments, or you can browse the whole lot online as well.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. So I'll get this link from you, and I'll make sure it's published with our video.
Sure. But I really hope it helps, because everybody's got enough challenges without adding lots of communication and uncertainty on top of it, on top of
Yeah,
everything else.
definitely. Definitely. Well, I've really enjoyed having this time with you, and I can't thank you enough for all of the thought and you've really gone through a lot of these processes so that some of us don't have to. So I appreciate that, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
And you too. Thank you very much for the opportunity as well, Julie.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. We'll talk to you soon.